Okay, so that means that you actually, the psychologist is then actually retraining the person on how to think and how to move forward with their life in a different way. Okay.
And I like what Albert Ellis says. He says, people disturb themselves and then they disturb themselves about the disturbances.
That's a good one. And how do we
And
now deal in this world that we realize we are in the last year and a half, we're not in control. We're not in control of nothing. How do you help people to have them understand that they still have to keep going? Because I mean, I know in our briefing, you said something that stuck with me. Right now, it's a collective anxiety that everybody is going through anxiety. Um, how do we deal with that? Do we all go, or should we have more conversations like this in your specialism? How are you with your colleagues looking at that situation right now during what's been happening with the pandemic?
this is where we need to go inside and try to find inner peace. And that's not easy because we've been so accustomed to being busy, making things happen. I listened to the link you sent me from Oprah.
Okay. Yes.
You know, only very fascinating.
Yes.
You know? Because that inner peace is what we are searching for. That inner peace which we forget about when we're so busy, you know, on the roller coaster, on the merry-go-round, doing, and not taking time just to be still and know, you know. So the pandemic has provided us with opportunities to be still. But because we are not accustomed to being still and we are accustomed to controlling things, it's very frightening.
It is.
To not have control and not to know what next.
Yeah.
And collectively, you know, all of us are feeling that sense of not being in control, not knowing what will happen next. And the media doesn't help.
No.
The media is based, makes a profit by sensationalizing everything. And the COVID pandemic has been no exception.
Yeah.
And we've been glued to the media, especially during the early days. We've been glued to the media and we've been seeing these frightening pictures of bodies and trucks full of bodies. So there's that collective feeling of gloom and doom, not knowing what to do, being afraid of the air that we breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Because
being afraid of touching, and we are a touchy-feely people. We hug, or we used to hug.
Yeah.
You know,
we used to shake hands and yeah.
So that kind of collective feeling of not knowing what next, not knowing who has this invisible, insidious virus that will size of the air at us, you know, or will be on the shopping cart.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of it evokes a lot of anxiety, and then we think of our loved ones, and we don't want them to be affected.
Yeah.
And so, in addition to protecting ourselves, we also try to do what we can to protect them, you know, and our children, and the whole parents, you know, deal with the anxiety of their children not being in school, but also the anxiety of what happens when they go back to school.
Yeah.
Parents deal with the anxiety of now being involved in this homeschooling program and not knowing really what to teach before they could hide their level of education from their children. You know, they just say, go and do your homework. but they didn't have to supervise the homework. That was the teacher's work.
Yeah.
But with the e-learning, parents have got to be involved with their children's e-learning, and that can reveal some inadequacies and insecurities.
It's stressful. It's stressful to be, I mean, we love our kids, but the fact that you have them then all day at home. I mean, when the lockdowns where you were not even allowed to leave the home, it was very, very challenging. Have you noticed also that because of that um, more clients come to you with abuse, or what are the effects that's been happening with the whole lockdown? How has that had an effect on people mentally?
Well, abuse has always been there, but when people are locked up, there is no way to run. So the abuser is in the home.
Yeah.
We've been getting many more cases of police reports about abuse. We've been getting children being frustrated because that's one of the dilemmas of a child who's been abused. Will they believe me? Because there are often parents won't believe, especially a mother, a woman
Mm-hmm.
whose partner is the abuser. She will not want to believe the child in many cases, right? So those who do believe, because that threatens her own sense of self. Why would you prefer a child over me? Why would you prefer my child? And how can I protect my child?
Yeah.
Anxieties are related to health, they're related to finances. Will I be able to go out and work? Or how, if I can't work, how will I provide for the family? Anxieties related to the future. What will become of me? What about my future plans for myself and my family?
Yeah.
How can I, my child was supposed to have been in college. How will that happen? What about my job? Will I be declared redundant because there is no work?
Exactly.
How will I pay the bank? And a feeling of I was an independent person. I had my ducks in a row. I could pay all my bills.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have a plan. Now my plan is no longer doesn't it no longer makes sense. Will I ever catch up? So there are all these feelings, even health. Some people I know some of my clients were involved in cancer treatment and they couldn't go away to get that treatment.
Yeah. And what are
So
the
there
sorry, go ahead.
are all of these anxieties, about the present and the future.
And in your
And
daily life, how do you deal with that? How do we cope? What are some coping mechanisms you would give to deal with the daily anxiety that's happening right now, the daily situation?
I refer to inner peace.
Mhm.
We need to find a sense of equilibrium. How can I balance all that I'm going through? How can I take some time for myself? Maybe go stand under a tree. Because when you're a mother, father, parent, and you're totally immersed in, the e-learning and all of that, you need some space, you need some time out. We would train people in relaxation techniques. We train people in mindfulness, being aware of, what's actually going on in their bodies, what am I thinking of? How can I reframe? How can I think about things differently? How can I give my children a sense of hope? Because children are hearing the media, they're hearing all the news on the media, and there is that growing sense of, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
So parents have a dual responsibility for themselves, for the family, and it's important for them to maintain a sense of It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's where our faith comes in, and the parents and people of all ages who have a sense of faith that we will get through this. Yes, we're going through the valley right now, but we'll get through this and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Let's have hope in the past of all things, and I can get through this too. This is a bigger challenge, but I have coping skills. I know how to take time, take a walk on the beach, you know.
So self-care. Take care better of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Do some things with the family. Look at the positives of the pandemic. It's given us more family time. You
Yeah.
know, rather than focusing on the negatives, focus a bit on what has come out of it. More family time, more time to build relationships. Like some Caribbean women have said, I want the man to be out, but no, he's home all the time. We should go out.
Now you got your wish. Exactly.
Be careful what you wish
Be
for.
careful. Yeah, I can imagine. Because I mean, even besides that, I think we're used to carnival, we're used to just hanging out by the beach, and that has been a really, really big challenge. And I think what we underestimate is how different your life has changed, and that then has an effect on you mentally. And I've always been an advocate. Somebody saying I'm having trouble, go ahead and see someone. There's nothing to be ashamed about. I definitely motivate people to talk more. But I think on a small island, I mean, you live on Anguilla. How do people deal with that? How do you deal with your special with your um what you do? Do you have to convince people to come and see you, or is it now just okay, I'm Dr. Banks, you know what I do, and you can just come and see me? How do they respond to you with your specialism?
I think people are more aware now than ever before of the need for talking and the media. People like you, this program that you're doing
Yeah.
is making it okay, is normalizing, the fact that we need to take care of our psychological health, you
Yeah.
know. And there are more programs for the children online, even, for teachers, helping teachers to prepare themselves better to cope with their children, helping parents. UNESCO and some of those international agencies are doing a good job of creating programs for psychological first aid.
Yeah.
We use the other kinds of first aid all the time. Now we need psychological first aid. We need to meet our own needs as well as the needs of others, but we can only meet the needs of others if our own needs are met. So we have to learn to take care of ourselves. You have to also learn to forgive. When you're in these cramped environments with a partner you're not speaking to, you gotta learn to let go and forgive. You got to give children, we tend to vent on children, you know, and Oprah in that program talked about the trauma about what happened to us.
Yeah.
What happened,
Good question. What happened to you? I love that question they asked. Yeah.
what happened to you. And maybe as time goes on, we'll be finding that there is more trauma that has been extended to children as a result of the lockdown,
I think so too.
these post-quarantine parents who are frustrated with themselves because they can't make ends meet the way they were accustomed to. With their relationships, they're frustrated, and sometimes the weakest person gets the brunt of it. And that weakest person is usually the children.
Yeah.
The children are confused, they're worried about what's going to happen next. We try to prevent them from seeing too much of the media, But it's everywhere, it's everywhere. They know that something is going on, and they know that they hear you talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole collective sense of, you know, being traumatized, you know, Oprah on that program, she talked about post-traumatic wisdom.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, post-traumatic
Yeah.
wisdom. Yeah, brilliant.
And there's going to be post-COVID wisdom. In fact, there's already a lot of post-COVID. Well, I shouldn't say post-COVID because we're not post-COVID, but
Yeah,
we are in a way coming out of it and realizing the lessons that we have learned.
yeah,
And rather than saying, being very angry about the situation, we are beginning to learn how to count our blessings.
you're
We're
forced
looking,
to. Yeah,
we're looking at before and after. What we had before that we did not really appreciate. Now, what we have now, and how we're going to now use the after in a way that will propel us to a greater sense of satisfaction, that we were in this together, we have worked on strategies to help ourselves. I mean, I have a grandchild, and I said, oh God, when my grandchild see my face without a mask,
yeah.
we need
Oh,
those,
that's so true. Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's a whole different world that we're living. But I love that you say that we're gonna come out of it. We're gonna come out of it with wisdom. We're gonna come out of it even better. That's just the human race, Where now, I think in our generation right now, we have it's kind of even it's actually some way a privilege that we're actually being able to experience the change to the new, whatever that is going to be. And with that, of course, anxiety comes with that, trauma comes with that, change comes. So I'm very happy that, we were able to talk today about that it is a safe place for you to talk about your emotions. I'm happy that you explained also why you can't just only discuss it with your family and your friends because they already know a story about you. And it's like what you were saying is that you have to get the tools on how to change that story in your head. I hope that we can have more of these conversations so that we can let people know that we need to talk more about mental health. I think it'll be interesting. You were talking about where it actually stemmed from slavery. Um, do you think that that will ever change? I mean, I know that we're busy trying to talk more about it, but with trauma, I know it's actually sometimes even in your DNA. Um, what are some ways that we can actually finally break the cycle of what we've carried out of slavery to what we have now today?
That's a big question.
But it's a question I would love to answer because I have kids. And what I liked also about the interview with Oprah is when she spoke about what are you doing to your kids, like what you just said. And it's also my fair, I have stuff that comes out of my generations, my past generations. And I see my daughters, I have two girls. So I think God gave me also two girls that I'm able to recognize things and correct them. But sometimes I'm thinking, what have I carried from my past generation? How can I break that cycle? What would your advice be on that?
Well, like I said, as a psychologist, you have the answers within you. I'm throwing the ball back in your
You're
court.
throwing back at me. Okay.
Continue the work. We have to, all of us individually and collectively, continue the work. We have to look at each other and see the beauty that's in every human being. That was one of the beauties of my school, and that's what UNESCO saw. We had children of all races, but they didn't see color. They saw individual. You know, we have to accept others. You know, Albert Ellis with the cognitive behavioral therapy, he talks about self-acceptance, other acceptance, and acceptance of the world. You know, so as we have the trauma of our enslavement process. We have to continue to work through it. Harboring bitterness, though, is not going to help us work through it.
Yeah.
We have to look at other sisters and brothers of all ethnicities and see beyond the color. We have to face the fact that trauma has been imposed on us, so we do not negate that, we do not minimize that, but we work collectively to build up the self-esteem of everyone with whom we come in contact. Now, as parents and grandparents of children of color, from an early age, it's our responsibility to help them appreciate their beauty.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do that if you're angry and bitter all the time. And that's why I'm saying it's important for us to not let the bitterness stay with us, because the bitterness is poison to our souls. To achieve that sense of inner peace, we cannot allow that bitterness to poison us.
Yeah.
So while we talk about the ravages of slavery, and how that the enslavement process affected us all, we have to still at the same time appreciate what we have. Now, I celebrate my African heritage every day. I dress in my African robes every day.
Beautiful.
In fact, the school was an attempt of working again to achieving that sense of other acceptance in children. I'm okay, you're okay, so we don't have to fight. We validate each other.
Yeah.
I had a boutique, which helped people to celebrate again their ethnicity, the beauty of the African heritage. Nowadays it's a little easier because we have the media, with all the images of people of African heritage, the clothing, admiring the clothing. I know when I wore the clothing all those years back from the 70s, people would say that looks good on you, but it's not for me.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's a fashion statement.
Now it's a fashion statement.
Yeah.
It seems as if that's what we have to do, unfortunately, because they said with the braids and stuff was Bo Derek, who first started to validate if I was okay to braid your hair.
Yeah.
Everyone is braiding their hair. No, locks are fashionable. I wear locks too, because I don't want to pull my hair.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any processing to my hair. It's easier, know. And I'm happy to see people of African heritage celebrating their hair.
Exactly.
In all the different ways. It's not okay.
Yeah, so it's okay to be natural.
We have made some progress. It's not going to be easy to eradicate, all of the vestiges of the enslavement process. In fact, probably we should, because what we have to do is now use what came out of that to, for example, the steel pan came out of that, so there are good things which we can celebrate and which we can use to help our people like you and me and your children, your daughters, my daughter, my grandson, my nephews and nieces, to help us to celebrate the fact that in spite of or because of, we are better.
Yeah.
And we will continue to turn our scars into stars, turn our challenges into celebration. What happened to us was not good, it was traumatic. We cannot stay there. We have to deal with the trauma and we have to reframe the trauma in ways that enhance our self-development and create that inner peace, because ultimately that's what we need. We need to be at peace with ourselves, and if we are at peace with ourselves, we can be at peace with others. So, but it starts with me.
I love that you say that because I mean, what I'm getting out of it is that continue to do the work. I think you've answered the question. You've definitely answered the question on how do we change the next generation. To do that, you have to first do the work, and then you are able to give something differently. I always say, we all get the same knowledge, but we all do something different with it until you are more aware of what you should do with the knowledge that you've all acquired. So I'm very, very happy with all the information, with everything that you've been telling us today. I really, really hope that we have been able to motivate more people to understanding that there's nothing wrong with getting therapy. It's really the same thing as if you take care of your body when it comes to your leg break. If you're not feeling well, go ahead and see a therapist. In the Caribbean, are they a lot because it sometimes seems like it's a very secretive uh job. Like on St. Martin, I wouldn't like know exactly what the list is on who all is a psychologist here in Suriname. Also not. Um, are there a lot of psychologists, or do you have a lot of foreigners that come to the Caribbean when it comes to your specialism?
Um, the thing about psychology in the Caribbean is not a very lucrative field.
Mm,
In North America, the UK, and those other Europe, it's a very lucrative field.
okay.
Those of us who do psychology in the Caribbean, it's not in order to make money. The goal is to help others, you know. And so people would not descend on the Caribbean to get a job in psychology if their goal is making a good living. And I say a good living, a great living, because you can do that in North America and Europe. You can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if your goal is making a lot of money, you don't come to the Caribbean. So we don't have a lot of people spending on us unless they come on a contract,
Okay.
period of time funded by an agency, international agency. So I don't know about St. Martin,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I know that's the case in the British Islands.
Okay.
People don't come here. They don't flock to the Caribbean to do psychology unless they are philanthropical, they want to just offer a service.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dr. Banks, I would like to thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for your encouragement on letting people know that it's okay to come and see someone like you. I want to thank you for your service also, especially how you just mentioned that it's not the most popular or most lucrative
Lucrative.
in the Caribbean, but still you chose. So that means your heart is really with helping people. And I really hope coming out of this interview, people will be more, open to it. So I would like to thank you very, very much. Are there any closing tips or advice you would like to give to the viewers?
Well, one of my greatest accomplishments, I would say, in addition to school, was having my daughter follow my footsteps.
Nice.
Um, she was said she was going to be a lawyer. And then I heard her say one day, but when she was about 4 or 5, she said, I don't ever want to be a psychologist. You don't have time to talk to the neighbors or play with the children. She followed me around the world. She went everywhere I went to like good consultancy. And when she was 16 years old, she said, Mommy, wouldn't it be wonderful if I carry on the legacy? I want to be a psychologist. I was driving, I almost drove off the road because I had no idea to get along those lines. So I think that's one of the biggest gifts we can give to our children, to have them observe us, see what we're doing, and then we're not going to force them. I didn't pressure her. I had no idea, as I said, but our children are looking at us. They're observing what we do. They observe how we interact. And if we want to foster world peace, we have to ensure that we show our children the kinds of attributes that people need to have in order to create that sense of inner peace, that sense of world peace, that sense of working with each other. So my goal is transformation.
Yeah.
Transforming people in such a way that they realize and appreciate their inner beauty, and that brings inner peace and that fosters world peace.
Love that. Thank you very much, Dr. Banks. Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanted to celebrate your rich ebony complexion.
Thank
The
you.
fact that you're a Nubian queen. You know, nowadays, a lot of people who have your complexion, they have been involved in, whitening their skin, and that's been something which has fostered a lot of, what should I say, low self-esteem
Yeah.
in the Caribbean and in North America. So I want to celebrate that and let you know that I see you as a beautiful Nubian queen, and to continue to embody that in all that you do, in all that you say, as you continue your journey through life.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you, Dr. Banks. Thank you.